Welcome back, everybody. It is July 10th, 2019, 8:02 p.m. Eastern Time, and we are watching the mess down in the Gulf that is just getting crazier and crazier by the hour. And we're also watching a separate system that is now shooting its way south, basically parallel just to the west of the Mississippi River. That is now beginning to conform itself to the already existing moisture down in the Gulf. If you look very closely, you could see the lower level moisture here is already getting that counterclockwise spin. The upper level clouds you see here, the reds and the darks, those dark colors, those are high level clouds. They are producing a lot of moisture. You could see this almost looks like a comet shooting across the screen. I do have it sped up a bit so you guys can get an idea of where exactly this moisture is coming from. But this is all going to play a part in the next 3 days. Yes, we have 3 more days before this thing, if it becomes a hurricane, if it's a tropical depression, whatever Barry's going to do, it's going to be hectic for the next 3 days. We already have massive flooding all over the place in Louisiana. They're expecting levee breach. I believe the levees are or have been built up to around 20 feet, if I'm not mistaken, and they could be pushing 18 feet at the moment. I'm not quite sure about that, but as of right now, they're showing this will become a storm, tropical depression, possibly by the end of the night tonight. We could be looking at this being a depression, and then an actual storm, as in Barry, a named storm. And then check this out, guys. By 1 p.m. Saturday, we do have the potential of this becoming a Category 1 hurricane before making landfall with what is it's showing Louisiana. Now, the charts are starting to agree on that a little bit. I have 2 charts pulled up for you here, the GFS Legacy, and then I also have the regular GFS, and they are slightly differing from each other. Sorry, my phone's vibrating there if that's what you guys are hearing. They're slightly differing, but the main point here is that Louisiana looks like it's going to be the target. But this type of storm, it's not so much as where the eye of this thing is going to be, if there is an eye. This thing is so big and covering so much area, and it's in such a warm atmosphere that anywhere in the Gulf is going to be affected by this. And I'm talking the east coast of Florida. We're talking the entire panhandle. We're definitely talking Mississippi and Alabama. And we are absolutely talking about Louisiana. Now, after that, it's hard to say. We do see some moisture being already pushed up into Texas, but what we also see is what's coming down on top of Texas. Now, this is, like I said, going to play a part once it reaches the Gulf. Anything that gets into this Gulf right now is just going to add to the potential of Barry becoming Barry, and that's why we now have the threat of an actual hurricane. So you can see also with the lightning, you can basically see the front, which is right here. Everything from here is being pushed down, and now we're starting to see those lower level clouds starting to counterclockwise spin. Those are the signs you start to see right before you get your tropical depressions, especially in a tight-knit area like this. Some of the waters out here are 87 degrees. I mean, I brought up the temperature chart. Not that this has anything to do with the Gulf, but it's 110 degrees in parts of Arizona and New Mexico and Southern California. Unbelievably hot. And we also have about 100 degrees near Houston, Texas. So you can only assume the water in this area is so warm. It's unbelievably warm. And that is why we're seeing these incredible colors and this amount of moisture that is hitting the Gulf now. And you could see some of it looks like it's not spinning counterclockwise, but what we want to focus on are those lower level clouds underneath the colors, basically, is what you want to see. In fact, I do have, there it is right there. I do have this visual pulled up. I'll back out a little bit. It is a little zoomed in there. But look at this line of rain that gets shot out of the panhandle and right into the Gulf. And this is where you can start to see those clouds. See those lower level clouds beginning to counterclockwise rotate? Here is the low central pressure right here. You're going to see these cloud tops shoot up to the sky right here. That right there is what we need to watch out for. That is basically where the low pressure is centralized right now. everything else is beginning to wrap around it. Now, as far as the spaghetti plots go, it's simply amazing what just a day can do. Yesterday, around, I wasn't quite this time, it was a little earlier in the day, the centralized pressure was in Georgia. But now that it's down in here, the spaghetti plots have changed, and this is what we're looking at now. Now we're looking at things getting shot straight up, basically following the Mississippi River, and that is all due to the different pressures. This is what we've been waiting for. We've been waiting to find out exactly what's going to be happening to the west of this moisture and to the east of it. Now, apparently, South Florida is pretty much out of this deal, as the models are fairly confident that this thing is going to continue in a southwestern direction, and then once that pressure releases, it's going to want to shoot straight up. Now, it all depends on how long this thing is in the water. That will depend on how strong the storm is. Regardless, you got to keep this in mind, guys. It does not matter whether this is a tropical depression, a tropical storm, or Category 1. It's the amount of water that's being pushed into these Gulf states, even as we speak right now, that is going to be the issue. Flooding is going to be the issue with this storm. Yes, we have the potential for high winds doing damage and things of that nature, but once you reach Category 2, 3, and higher, that's when really wind becomes a huge factor. But this is going to be a flood storm. This storm is going to completely saturate everywhere from the Panhandle, Alabama, Mississippi, certainly Louisiana, as we said, and then parts of Texas. As you can see, some of these models have this thing possibly coming out to Texas. I'm leaning towards the straight up shot through Louisiana, hopefully not Baton Rouge, but either way, guys, this is going to be a big water push into the Mississippi River, the absolute last place we need it to be right now. So, with that said, you can see the heat. The heat here is absolutely incredible. This isn't quite as hot as you can see right here. This is like torrential heat, like you should not be outside heat. And then we have our tropical storm warnings. Actually, these are hurricane warnings. The purple here, tropical storm, is the red. And you can see it's basically bordered along the Louisiana area. But this is what we're looking at now, guys. This is the track. This is what they're assuming is going to happen. I want to take us over to Tropical Tidbits quick before I let you go on this update and just show you the difference really quick between the Legacy and the GFS. Okay, so we'll do this. Now, again, remember, this is expected to be a Sunday landfall, if there is a landfall. If this becomes a hurricane, it's going to be called a landfall. If it's not a hurricane, it'll be a depression of some sort. Either way, check this out. So we have the GFS by Saturday, July 13th, still showing it's in the water, but that's not going to change anything. We are going to be having a lot of that water being pushed right into Louisiana's Gulf, even though this has not made landfall yet. So as we move forward, you can kind of see it takes on the eastern side of Louisiana by Sunday the 14th. And then it kind of tracks up through it tracks up through the United States a little bit, but then kind of quickly gets carried out by a west to east movement. Now, if I compare that to the GFS Legacy, which is the newer version of the GFS, it's showing right where the low pressure is right now, just like we showed. This is all rain going on right now. This is what's causing the flooding. You can see here on radar scope, we have flash flood warnings all over the place with that big front of moisture that's being pushed to the south very quickly, which is going to aid in this. Believe it or not, it's going to make this a stronger storm with a lot of moisture. And as we move forward with the Legacy, you can see how quickly it forms. Right there, we're at 1,000 millibars. That is Friday the 12th. So that would be the day after tomorrow. And then we drop down to 996 on that same day. Now we're at 993. And now we're starting to clip those little gullies and those little pieces of land that stick out of Louisiana. And those are always the areas that flood first. It just happens to be in those areas that are just not, they don't take well to water, and especially when it comes to storms like these, when we're dealing with the amount of heat and the moisture already in the air and the atmospheric conditions, whether hurricane or not, to produce a flooding to the level, I hate to even say it, the word Katrina, but if this thing sits here as long as it does, and all this moisture comes together the way it looks like it is, it doesn't have to be a Category 2 or 3 hurricane to do the type of damage that this thing could possibly do. Water damage is worse in some cases than wind damage. Yes, wind damage can destroy things, but also water can too. And Louisiana and Houston, Texas know very well that that is a very good possibility. Um, and with that said, guys, that is all the updated info I have as of right now. I mean, right now we are tracking like by the hour. Like every hour we'll have a little shift here, a little shift there, and then it's a matter of getting down to exactly what areas need to be watched the closest. Now, like I said, some of these highways are already being closed. They're in preparation for this, but it's really looking like that the low pressure is centralized right around here. We're beginning to see the counterclockwise spin. We're seeing a heavy dump of moisture coming from the middle of the country straight down over Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and the top of Louisiana. And then we have that bar of rain that just came off the panhandle here. In fact, let's look at that one more time, and then we'll cut this one off. But what an unbelievable sight. This too. I mean, check this out. Look at this. This system, this cell moving down across the country and then beginning to interact itself with what is going on down here. It's an incredible thing to watch. Really quick, this was that chart I was mentioning first. Just watch again. You could see right here. Look at that dump off of rain. It comes right off the panhandle. It almost looks like it pushes the rain into the Gulf and then backs off. It looks like one of those like water sprinklers. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's this bar, there's a front right here. It boom, it shoots out all the water, and then the shock wave moves backward, just like the video we made about a day ago with that explosion of moisture that shot out into the Gulf, which was unbelievable to see in itself. We could see darkness starting to cover the area, but just before that, you could see right here is where the center of this low pressure system is right now, right where you're seeing these clouds reaching very high, and then everything's going to start revolving around it. And then we need to see what direction it takes. The sooner it goes north, the less time it's going to have in the warm water. The more time it spends down here, the stronger this storm could potentially get. And the longer it lingers around, the more water is just going to get completely dumped into these areas, and we don't want that either. So no matter which way we go, it's not going to be a good situation. It's already a bad situation for a lot of people in Louisiana, so it's a waiting game, guys. I wish I had more I could tell you in more detail, but at this point, it's an hour-by-hour situation, and again, the worst of it might not come until Sunday over this weekend, so we still have a lot of research to do and a lot to look at. So with that said, I'm going to let you go for now. I may go live later on. I know I've been saying that for days. It's just a timing thing, guys. It's been very hard. We have internet in one place that we're staying, and then in the other place we don't. So we got to kind of split our time at the moment. So I apologize for that, but I'm trying to get the best info out to you guys that I absolutely can without having to go over the same thing 100 times. I'm just trying to get the people that are in the path of this thing, which is a lot of people, to understand the seriousness of things like this. So, all right, guys, with that said, we're going to get going here. I will talk to you all very soon. Please stay safe out there. Again, keep an eye on these areas. If you live in any of these areas, there's a big front moving down into the Gulf itself. It's very hot out. Stay hydrated and stay prepared. That's what I got for you guys. Thank you so much. Talk soon. Bye-bye.